I'm Patrick Henry. I'm the CEO of GroGuru. We're all about strategic water management for commercial farmers. We help farmers make more money by increasing crop yield and more efficiently using water and other scarce resources like fertilizer, energy, and labor in a more efficient, more sustainable way, all related to water, of course. A little bit about my background. I'm a multi-time entrepreneur. This is my fourth tech startup. I've had multiple exits, including an IPO on NASDAQ that led to $1 billion valuation. And I got involved with GroGuru initially in 2017 as an investor and then joined full time in 2018. Let's see. So why do we do what we do? It's really important for the planet. If you look at the amount of additional food we need to grow and the water that we need to save, clearly the math doesn't work. So there has to be application of new technologies to make these numbers work. And a lot of the tools that are capable from a precision ag standpoint and from the standpoint of like different hybrids, like in corn, you could get 800 bushel corn out of the hybrids, but we're only getting like 200 bushels. So the application of new technology is what's really going to unlock that. And all the action happens at the root zone of the crop, which is where we're focused. So how do farmers manage irrigation today? Well, the vast majority, 90% use kind of relatively rudimentary techniques. And the technology for soil sensors has been around for over a decade, but only about 10 to 15% of farmers are using it mainly because of issues in the past, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the big one for field crops like corn and soybeans, which is 85% of the irrigated acreage, they cable from the sensors in the ground to the above ground telemetry. So they have to be annually installed and removed, which is not scalable, expensive, cumbersome. And we solved that problem. So we've developed a proprietary, now patented, we've got two key fundamental patents on what we call our wireless underground system, or the GroGuru WUGs. This technology can communicate through multiple feet of soil, rock, concrete, whatever, but obviously soil in this case. So we bury the sensors below the till depth next to the root zone of the crop, and we get information that we then pass to the cloud, apply our machine learning algorithms, bring in other data from our partners like weather forecasts, rain gauge data, information from the irrigation system, and then make recommendations to farmers about when and how much to irrigate via a very simple, intuitive, farmer-friendly user interface that they can access on their tablet, smartphone, or computer. The market's massive, as was talked about earlier. Over 300 million acres of farmland in the US, 52 million of that is irrigated. And of that, 85% is annual field crops, where the GroGuru solution has a distinct advantage. Although we're also in potatoes, we're in some of the fruit and nut trees in California as well. But the big market where the real action is and massive growth opportunity is in the Midwest, where we're deployed in field crops, and obviously a massive market worldwide as well. So this is our deployment map. So we have significant traction. We've got over 1,000, close to 1,500 SaaS subscribers a day across 200 customers, 150,000 acres under management. And we did just under a million in revenue last year. We're on a pace to do north of that this year. And what's really exciting is we've got, a really strong dealer network and existing customers that can expand very rapidly with us. And we've now kind of established and proven product market fit. So why now? Well, that there are a few things that have kind of stalled this market in the past. Historically there were ecosystem issues with reliable wide area networking coverage. Those are pretty much resolved. Reliable low cost cloud computing, that's resolved. And we're also seeing an increased market need. So there's more of a sense of urgency with farmers of addressing these water issues. You can't pick up a newspaper or look at the internet today without seeing water, climate, sustainability. So these are big issues. Second was the reliability of the hardware, and we've got some awesome partners, Centec and Aquacheck. They're two of the leaders in capacitance probes. That's the sensor that goes next to the crop, and then what we provide is the wireless underground system, the above ground telemetry, and the cloud-based computing. So our real IP is in the wireless underground system and in what we do from a software standpoint in the cloud. And what it's really all about, as Cal mentioned earlier, you got to make this stuff simple, easy to sell, easy to use. You put it in the ground. The farmers always get the data. The hardware works. They don't even want to hear about the hardware. What they care about is the information and insights. So scalability is really important and ease of use is really important. And that's really been the GroGuru focus. So there's a massive return on investment for farmers that are using it. Irrigated acreage is a 6 to 8x return on investment every single year. And that means a payback period of less than one growing season. And what we're seeing with permitted install, which is enabled by the GroGuru WUGs, is they get even better results in year 2 and beyond because they get a continuous data stream. So they can better manage preseason irrigation, crop rotations. If they are doing cover crops, they can manage that. All of those things that are really important for increasing soil health and ultimately increasing crop yield. So we've got, multiple layers of competitive advantage. I won't go through all the details here, but like I said, the WUGs, the GroGuru WUGs and the machine learning are really kind of our key differentiators. We've got a roadmap to the mobile version of WUGs, which is going to be ready for commercial trials in this fall. And that's really the precursor for irrigation automation. If talk to even a sophisticated irrigator like Tom Moore, who runs Moore Brothers Farming in the Texas Panhandle, and ask him how you manage irrigation. He says we have to look at 5 computer screens and have a yellow pad. So we consolidate that down to 1 computer screen and no yellow pad. It's a big, big advancement even for a sophisticated irrigator. A little bit about the competition. It's really, again, it's about permanent install. It's about scalability. It's about ease of use. And it's about providing insights next to the root zone of the crop that are continuous without having to go through the hassle of annual install and renewal. We are generating revenue. We're getting closer to profitability, EBITDA positive. We expect to get there next year. And we're raising a round of capital that will help us get there and really scale the business. And there's great operating leverage in this business model because you obviously don't have to grow R&D as fast as you grow the revenue over time. Once the hardware is done, it's really improving the software and integration with other parts of the software platform. A little bit about the team. My co-founders, Jeff Campbell and Frick Angel, both PhDs. Jeff is a soil sensor expert, and he's the inventor of the wireless underground system. Farouk has a background in system engineering. He's recently kind of moved into more of an advisory role. David Sloan is our chief agronomist, over 25 years of irrigation agronomy experience, one of a couple handfuls of guys that have that level of expertise. And Kylan Hunt is our VP of business development. Between Kylan and David, they really have a massive amount of domain expertise because David worked for AquaSpy for over a decade and Kylan worked for Crop Metrics for about a decade. We have a farmer advisory board. About half of these guys are large corporate farm executives. The other half are multi-generational family farmers and customers of GroGuru. And I think 4 out of the 6 people are also investors and their families are also investors. We're raising a preferred stock financing. We funder that closes the 16th of next month. This gets us to EBITDA positive, gets us into a range of recurring revenue that, the VCs like. And, we're really moving to a hardware as a service business model over time and expanding our partnerships and commercializing the two-way WUGs. So it's all about impact. Massive market. I think we've got a significant competitive advantage, probably 2.5 years over competition on the wireless system. A team that can win in this market and get this additional capital, gas in the gas tank, and we can take this thing to the next level. So with that, we can open it up for any questions you guys might have.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick.
You bet.
If anyone else, feel free to jump in and have questions, but I wanted to start off. The soil sensors that you talked about, these are permanent in the ground. So you just send them in the ground at a certain depth. They stay for until they basically burn out. Is that how it works? And that's what, 30 years or something?
It's 5 years on the current version and going to 10 years on the next version, which is still a massive improvement over, having to annually install and remove the sensors. And the traditional model is we had about a 4-week window after crop emergence to get sensors in the ground and a 4-week window prior to harvest to get them out of the ground. You have to do that every single year. You only have a subset of the growing season that you're tracking what's going on in the root zone of the crop, and you have to recalibrate the sensors every year. So the data is a throwaway data set. With permanent install, we can actually have a perpetuity because we can, when we're running on battery life, we can cross calibrate with another sensor and then continue to preserve that data stream. So there's just a lot of additional insights you get in the field around soil health, around crop management, crop rotations, cover crops, in those kinds of situations. Yeah. So we bury the sensors. The top of the sensor is typically 9 to 12 inches below the soil surface. So this is really in what we call no-till and strip-till operations, which the vast majority of the market is moving to that for soil health.
Cool. Really great. And then just a follow-up question to that. For a lot of the farmers that you work with, both big or small, is their primary objective to optimize their water usage, or does it tend to be making sure that they are watering their crops enough, or the performance or the yields aren't lagging because they're not watering their crops enough? What tends to is it or is it tend to be just a combination of both? And then just real quick on top of that, how many sensors per acre or per hectare that they need to accomplish those goals?
Yeah. So great questions. The first is that the vast majority of farmers that are irrigating are over irrigating. There are some that might be under irrigating, but the risk of under irrigating is so catastrophic that most farmers put more water on than what's needed. So you're not really getting optimum crop yield. So once you start dialing that in and really using the right amount of water at the right time, you not only save water, you get about a 10 to 20% savings on the input costs, water, fertilizer, and energy primarily. And then you get about a 10 to 20% increase in crop yield. So this is really an efficiency improvement around water. So that the biggest users right now are folks that are fully irrigated. So this is the Western Corn Belt. And then California, obviously, where there's a big water issue, and that's mainly in the fruit and nut tree, vineyard markets, those types of things. And over time, you'll see more and more people adopting this because there is so much value to it. In the Midwest, we're typically deploying one sensor every 120 to 150 acres. They primarily use center pivot irrigation. So that's, one irrigation zone. In California, it's more like one every 20 to 40 acres. Those are smaller irrigation zones. Over time, we think field crops will eventually be one every 40 to 50 acres because there's some incremental improvements you can get as you move to the two-way system, that's very scalable in terms of really taking it to the next level in terms of yield improvement.
Sorry. Awesome. I appreciate it, Patrick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
No, thank you so much. And I appreciate it. And if anyone else has any other questions, jump in. Otherwise, we're gonna uh uh jump on to the next company. But fantastic, Patrick. I'm excited. I'm really excited because I feel like especially from your perspective, looking at what you guys have accomplished, it seems like getting the irrigation problem, especially understanding the soil, is really difficult. You going and taking that step forward and making sure that you have soils in the ground long term, but then also building an ecosystem on top of that that improves irrigation. And then now going and moving into the automation in the future, I think is going to be really exciting. So
Yeah, it's really what unlocks the value of things like precision ag, like zone management, understanding things like that, which is how you spread the seeds differently, how you fertilize differently. It's the old story. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So, and all the action happens at the root zone of the crop. It's just farmers have been unwilling to install annual removal sensors because it's not scalable. And we solve that problem.
cool. Great. Well, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.